I have been an avid fan of Dragon Age since I was about 15 years old, when Dragon Age Origins changed my life by introducing me to my longest-lasting hyperfixation. Since then, I have collected every bit of Dragon Age media available and can recite most of it by heart. This means I have also been a long-time witness to the recycled backlash that comes with every Dragon Age game release. So I can't say I'm surprised that this has yet again come up with Dragon Age the Veilguard, but it does make discussing legitimate critique of the game frustrating. The last thing I want is to be in the same category as the pathetic little minds who can't bear the inclusion of a non-binary character. But on the other side of the argument, you have some folks saying that Veilguard should be absolved of all criticism simply because it caters so well to white Western queer people. I strongly disagree with this stance too, and in some ways consider it just as unhelpful as the people in the opposite camp. So here I am, sitting in the middle. Because for everything I enjoyed, there was also something I disliked. I may be a little late to the party with this review, but at least I can say I've had a lot of time to collect my thoughts. For a good portion of my first play of Veilguard, I struggled with the combat. This is a Dragon Age game, but the combat system is so jarringly different from all the previous ones. It has grown on me with time at least, and I have since played as a mage, rogue, and a little bit as a warrior. While both mage and rogue are quite fun, I find warrior to be boring leveling up, to be honest. I do really appreciate the inclusion of an option to disable death, as it makes story mode feel like a true story mode. As I said, I struggled with learning the combat for a long while, so disabling death ensured I was still able to get through the game without becoming stuck and frustrated. The locations are beautifully constructed with smooth interactions of climbing, ziplining, and puzzle solving, making them fun to explore. They also come with such distinct flavors and character in themselves. It creates a nice sense of experiencing different parts of Thedas with different cultures. The only major letdown is that Ravane is nothing but ruins on a beach, when it would have been lovely to see a Ravania city or at least a village. Instead of a system from Inquisition, where different classes do different things, each companion has their own unique abilities. Thankfully, if you do not have the companion in your party that you need to interact with something, Rook can do it. This removes the necessity to try and balance the party based on abilities, and allows you to mix and match companions however you like. I'll get into my thoughts on each individual companion in a moment, but first I must say that the biggest problem I have with the main cast is that only half of them feel like their writing is complete. The other half feels like they never made it out of draft stage, with whole pieces missing. While Harding does feel like she has a full story, it's a shame that story feels less about her as a character and more like she's just used as a vessel for lore about Titans. Don't get me wrong, all the Titan lore is incredibly interesting, and I'm glad we're able to finally get at least some answers from the Descent DLC and Inquisition, but I wish it wasn't at the cost of actually developing a character out of Harding, beyond a simplistic girl-next-door archetype. Consequently, I find her the least interesting companion, to be honest, because I'm not even particularly fascinated with what potential she could have if things went differently. There's just not much to grasp on to even imagine about. I consider Nev to be one of the two best written companions. Unlike Harding, her story is definitely a personal character arc, and a fantastic one at that. It really does feel like her life trajectory changes significantly based on your influence and choices impacting her. She's also such a fresh and fascinating type of character to introduce to the world of Thedas, a private detective in Tevinter who wants to fight corruption but is struggling not to lose all hope. She has a strong personality with her own points of view, and is even given room to challenge the player's choices at times. This is all to say I absolutely adore Nev. Balara is the character I was most excited about pre-release of the game, as I was very interested in the concept of her character and the Veil Jumpers. Thankfully, at a baseline, I am satisfied with Balara. Do I wish we had more content with her? Of course, she has one of the two least fleshed out romances, unfortunately, in particular. But putting that aside, the content we do get from Balara hits a sweet spot between fun and tragic. She's adorably quirky, but behind that is going through so much angst over her brother, and the way that angst is written is very relatable. Honestly, my only gripe about Balara's writing, beyond wishing there was more, are the scenes where she acts like the events of this game are suddenly going to make everyone hate elves, as if elves aren't already widely oppressed. But that's part of a larger lore inconsistency issue. Lucanus is the worst off when it comes to feeling incomplete, which makes sense given we know EA/BioWare stupidly got rid of his original writer while the game was still in development. A fun fact about Lucanus, I counted 38 times he brings up coffee in the game's exported script. The man will not shut up about coffee, and it loses its charm pretty fast when you realize it's used as a substitute for a lack of stronger characterization. This is absolutely tragic, as there is a lot of potential to be found in Lucanus. For example, I adore him in Tevinter Nights, where he and Ilario are both more fleshed out. I also can't help but suspect that the reason the end of his personal questline is so inconsequential is because they just plain didn't finish him and tried to tie up the loose ends with what they had. There are parts found in the game files suggesting that originally he would have either accepted the role of First Talon or not, which is much more interesting to think about. It's unfortunate just how much of Davron's story revolves around Asan. All that accomplished was making me hate that damn griffin for taking up nearly every conversation. Yes, I understand that much of Davron's character comes in the form of using Asan as a metaphor for his own troubles. But I think we should be asking why BioWare felt the only way players would empathize with a black man was to feed us his character through a pet. Even his personal quest ends with having to choose what happens to the griffins, not what happens to Davron himself. If that doesn't sum up this nonsense, I don't know what does. Davron deserves so much more than being sidelined as the Griffin Keeper. This is why I like his scene after Weissaupt. It's one of the few times we get to see him react to something without Asan involved. Up until Rook says Davron's new purpose in life is to look after Asan, at least. Emmerich is the other companion I think is up there with Nev as the best written, for much of the same reasons. He is a new, unique, and insightful character that adds a distinct flavor to expanding the world of Thedas. His fear of dying is so realistically human, and it leads so well into his character arc. And that character arc is brilliantly executed, the way it confronts death in a fantasy world with magic, questioning an afterlife reflective of said magic. All this is to say, Emmerich has a special kind of charm in him I really love. Tosh is complicated. I myself am non-binary, and I can appreciate that BioWare was trying to break ground by including a story about gender diversity. But I am also Indigenous, and what I do not appreciate is the way in which Tosh's gender journey is so goddamn white. Tosh otherwise very strongly reads as a racialized coded character, and an immigrant at that. And yet Tosh's gender is treated like it has to be separate from those things, compartmentalized. It's so weird to see this clearly non-white character suddenly become white when talking about their queerness, and it reads like the writer doesn't understand the role queerness already plays in different cultures. Probably because the writer was too busy coming up with excuses why Tosh should have to choose between two cultures on top of everything else, which is just plain wrong. But setting that aside, there are other things about Tosh's story to enjoy at least. Their relationship with their mother, for example, is so well done and ultimately heartbreaking. I personally think Rook as a protagonist is just as bad as the Inquisitor when it comes to how restrictive the dialogue choices are with a railroaded personality. So it's not a new problem, but that doesn't mean I don't wish for better. Yes, I can fill in the blanks with my own imagination. No, I don't think that is a good enough reason to excuse what the game lacks itself. However, there are some qualities in Rook that I think deserve praise. For example, I really appreciate the game going further than just having you pick pronouns and sending you out into the world. The ability to have your character actually speak about being trans or non-binary is so refreshing. I especially like the moment between May and Rook, where she offers comfort to a Rook who says that coming out was difficult. Algernon and Gillenane are the main antagonists of the game. While they're not as bland as Corypheus, they still don't have the same grip characters like Meredith or Loghain hold on me. However, both Algernon and Gillenane have some of the best voice acting, I will say. Their voices really carry the characters further than the writing, because they add such a hauntingly wicked chill in Algernon's case, and a frenzy for Gillenane. And, of course, there is Solus. I really like Solus in this game, just as much as I like him in Inquisition, despite being quite different. It's fun to see both the old familiarities in his character, as well as the sides of him no longer hidden, and how those faces he wears both complement and clash. I love how his downfall is yet again his own doing. By manipulating Rook into becoming a leader to take his place in his Fade prison, he ultimately set Rook up to be the person who could beat him. Overall, he's a really fun anti-villain. Finally, I want to give a special shout out to some of the supporting characters that really stood out to me. First, there are Thea and Viego from the Antivan Crows. I was already head over heels in love with them from the moment I read Tevinter Nights, so getting to see them in game made me very excited. There is something fascinating about them as individuals and as a couple. I simply love their dynamic. Second, I quite enjoyed the Viper and his Batman dramatics. Enough said. The beginning of the story is strong, the middle is strong, and the ending is, well, it's okay. The prologue does a fantastic job at diving the player right into the chaos, immediately setting the stakes and reintroducing you to Thetis. The cinematic detail is the most stunning in the whole game, too. The first big story event after the prologue is when the player is forced to choose between saving Minrathous or Treviso from simultaneous dragon attacks. It was reported that this choice was a last-minute addition to the game, but even without that confirmation, it is very obvious. The consequences feel so unequal when, depending on your choice, you completely lose 2 companion quests for Lucanus, but never any for Nev. More so, if you save Minrathous, Treviso gets absolutely fucked by the Blight. The scale of damage presented is huge. But if you save Treviso, Minrathous barely changes. The only noticeable difference in the map is that there are now public executions, as if we're supposed to accept that this wasn't the case before. This is the capital of Tevinter we're talking about. The brutality we see only after the dragon attack has long been established as the pre-existing everyday reality in all previous Dragon Age media. It feels so half-assed. The battle at Weissop is the highlight of the game. It pulls such an excellent job at making you truly feel the urgency and desperation as the plan falls apart piece by piece, and yet Rook doesn't give up. And the double dragon fight that comes after is almost just as good in that regard, especially when Elgernon finally joins the field and everything ends abruptly. The level of power he displays finally sets in just how outmatched Rook and the team really are. I do think BioWare could have come up with a more creative way of ending the story than press X to pity Solus or press Y to punch him. It is very reminiscent of the widely criticized Mass Effect 3 ending, which makes sense given it was reportedly the Mass Effect team that was brought in to, quote, fix things, including the end. This is also just speculation on my part, not confirmed, but I theorize that the Mass Effect team rewriting and adding content is what led to so much lore inconsistency with the Darkspawn too. Yes, the design differences are hand-waved off as experimented on by Gillinane, and given that they've gotten redesigns every single game, I can work with that. But Darkspawn are an established crucial presence in the ongoing lore of Dragon Age, play a crucial presence in Veilguard specifically again, and therefore you'd think would be one of the easier and prioritized things to write about cohesively. They are instead written as if coming from people with zero knowledge of the Blight at all. But the weakest part of the story as a whole is sticking all the segments together. It feels disjointed in many parts. Having the companions basically look in the camera and saying, "It's time for our quest now," after Weissop for example, completely ruins the flow. Speaking of flow, Veilguard does not flow well from the past games at all. The extremely limited world state choices implemented mean a lot of moments have to sidestep any references to past events, or straight up retcon them. Isabella says her time in Kirkwall taught her the value of friendship, even though it's possible Hawke gave her to the Arishok. Dorian and Cole, both optional recruits in Inquisition, are always mentioned as joining, and there is not even a single mention of Morrigan's son, Kieran, whether or not he exists. This list could go on and on. Lastly, many people have already spoken about how they don't feel like Veilguard is dark enough compared to the last games. I both agree and disagree with this statement. On one hand, there are indeed some side quests that are quite heavy and carry a darker tone, but that is no excuse for the overall sanitization of the world and its lore. I'm not going to go overly in-depth on this topic because I already wrote an essay on it in its fullness, which I'll link in the description. But the short version is, the impression I'm left with feels very corporate, as if a computer ran through the game's script and got rid of anything with too much political substance. Ultimately, Veilguard is a Dragon Age game that, like its predecessors, has both merits and flaws. In this specific case, it's easy to see a lot of creativity went to its creation, but it's also easy to see how that creativity was shafted and constrained by development hell and corporate control. If you ever have the opportunity to read through The Art of Dragon Age: The Veilguard, I recommend doing so, as it provides a look at the phases the game went through before final release. There are a lot of cut ideas in there that I personally think would have been really interesting to see. Also, the artwork is just beautiful to look at. I have always loved Dragon Age, but I have also always been vocal about the aspects that rub me the wrong way in it too. I think that sometimes people forget it's okay to overall enjoy a game and be critical of parts of it at the same time. I'd argue even further to say that's just a healthy approach to any media. So this is the part where I should come up with some clever ending line, but I think I'll just leave you with this.
Goodbye, Varric. I know where to find you if I need you.